If someone told you that the most powerful people on the planet are preparing a system where everything in the world is turned into digital tokens, from your money to your land and even the natural world, you might think it is an exaggeration. But the truth is that these discussions are already happening openly at the highest global levels. Today, on BullionIQ, we are going to break down this complex topic in a simple way so you understand exactly what is coming, how it affects normal people, and why blockchain technology like Ethereum and XRP might end up becoming the foundation of a completely new financial system. Welcome back to BullionIQ, where we study real financial realities, not hype. In today's video, I want you to stay with me until the end, because this information is not just about crypto, it is about how global power structures are shifting everything into the digital world. Understanding this early gives you an advantage that most people don't even know they need. This entire conversation starts with Whitney Webb, who is exposing a side of tokenization that Larry Fink, BlackRock, and other elite institutions do not openly talk about. Larry Fink has been repeatedly saying that everything will be tokenized soon. He does not say maybe or some things. He says everything. He also claims that all tokenized assets will exist on one single universal ledger. This means a global blockchain or something like it, where every asset has a digital ID and every person is connected through a digital identity. This is no longer just about stocks or real estate being digital. Whitney Webb explains that these powerful groups want to tokenize the natural world, meaning forests, oceans, lakes, rivers, wildlife, and anything that exists in nature. They want to turn the earth itself into a financial market. She gives an example of Peter Knies, one of the original minds behind the ETF model, who wants to tokenize the Amazon rainforest. His plan is that every hectare of the rainforest becomes a digital token on a blockchain, with surveillance drones monitoring every part of it. Imagine the most untouched natural places on the planet being connected to digital tracking systems and turned into financial assets. This is not a movie. These discussions are happening right now. What makes it even more concerning is the idea that once everything is tokenized, normal people will not really own anything in the traditional sense. The phrase, "you will own nothing and be happy," suddenly makes sense when you see how these plans work. The elites could own the rights to forests, oceans, minerals, land, and even the air, and the public will only be given tiny fractional tokens that do not represent real control. This is why it is important to understand which blockchain networks could run this new world system. The question is not whether tokenization is coming. The question is which technology will be trusted to handle trillions of dollars in assets. Will it be Ethereum with its global adoption? Will it be XRP with its instant settlement and institutional connections? Will it be a mixture of multiple networks working together under one giant digital system? Institutions will never tell the public the full plan, but they leave clues everywhere, and the people who notice these clues will be prepared for the new financial era. This is why we are discussing this today on BullionIQ, so you can understand what others will only realize when it is too late. When we look deeper into this conversation, the most important point becomes clear very quickly. These plans for tokenization are not random ideas, and they did not appear suddenly. Major global institutions like the BIS, IMF, and World Economic Forum have been working on this shift for many years. They openly talk about a future where assets move instantly across borders, where traditional banking rails like SWIFT become outdated, and where value exists on interconnected blockchain systems. This is not conspiracy talk. These are official statements in public projects. When Larry Fink says that everything will be on a universal ledger, he is repeating a vision that these institutions have been slowly building. And the interesting part is that the technology he describes already exists in the form of networks like XRP Ledger and Ethereum. This is why so many analysts believe that the global financial system is being prepared to merge traditional assets with blockchain networks at a massive scale. XRP is designed for instant cross-border settlement. Ethereum is built to handle tokenization of securities and programmable assets. For years, these networks were treated like experiments, but now the biggest financial players in the world are entering the same space the crypto community has been studying for more than a decade. Another important part of the story is how Larry Fink and other leaders talk about tokenizing bonds and stocks, but avoid explaining the full plan. They say the right things publicly, like transparency, efficiency, and faster settlement. But they do not explain what happens when you tokenize land, water, forests, minerals, energy, or carbon. Suddenly, everything becomes part of a digital market. Every object in the real world becomes a tradable financial unit. And this is where the concern begins, because the power will sit with the institutions that control the ledger. If everyday people have only fractional tokens and the institutions own the base infrastructure, real ownership disappears. Tokenization becomes a system where you access things, but you do not truly own them. This is why understanding which blockchain networks will power this infrastructure matters for investors. If Ethereum becomes the settlement layer for central bank digital currencies, stablecoins, and tokenized securities, then it becomes foundational to the future economy. Ethereum is already being used in CBDC pilots, digital bond issuances, and multi-bank experiments. Meanwhile, XRP has been tested for instant global settlements, liquidity bridging, and removing the need for traditional payment intermediaries. Larry Fink even once refused to comment when asked about an XRP ETF, which is strange because he usually speaks comfortably about other assets. This silence makes many believe there are deeper institutional connections forming behind the scenes. It is becoming clearer that both networks may play roles in different layers of the tokenized world. Ethereum may run programmable assets and smart contracts, while XRP may handle settlement, liquidity, and cross-border value movement. Together, they could form a multi-chain foundation for the universal ledger Fink talks about. The elites have been planning this system quietly, while the public focused on short-term price charts. But now, everything is speeding up. In the next 12 to 24 months, we could see the first real wave of global tokenization. It will begin with financial assets like funds and bonds, and then gradually move into real-world assets, energy credits, and environmental commodities. Once the system becomes mainstream, the blockchains that support these tokenized assets will hold massive long-term value. This is why being early matters. Not because of hype, but because understanding the architecture of the new financial system allows you to position yourself before the rest of the world realizes what is happening. As we continue to explore this shift toward tokenization, one thing becomes even more obvious. The institutions behind these plans are not experimenting anymore. They are building the next financial foundation. When Larry Fink talks about a universal interconnected ledger, he is describing a world where every type of value moves through a single digital system. This system will not rely on banks waiting 2 or 3 days for settlement. It will not rely on outdated systems like SWIFT. Instead, everything will settle instantly on blockchain technology, and this alone changes the entire concept of ownership and finance. For everyday investors, the question becomes which blockchain networks are being positioned to power this universal ledger. Ethereum is already heavily used by institutions for tokenization. The European Investment Bank issued digital bonds using Ethereum technology. The BIS tested multi-CBDC networks that support Ethereum-compatible systems. Several central banks are experimenting with Ethereum frameworks because smart contracts allow programmable money, compliance rules, and automated settlement. At the same time, XRP was created specifically for fast, low-cost transactions and global liquidity. It solves a different problem, bridging currencies, enabling instant settlement, and replacing the need for custodians or intermediaries. When Larry Fink says that a pure blockchain could remove the need for custodians, he is practically describing what XRP already does. This is why many analysts believe the future global system will not rely on only one chain, but a combination of specialized networks working together. One reason this matters so much is because tokenization will not be limited to financial assets. The real plan, which most people do not talk about, includes tokenizing natural resources. When you tokenize forests, lakes, and minerals, you open up a new category of financial assets that previously could not be traded easily. If an institution can represent 1 hectare of rainforest as a digital token, they can attach a value to it, trade it, speculate on it, and even loan against it. This creates unlimited new collateral. Banks can use this collateral to create more debt, expand markets, and turn the natural world into a financial engine. This is the part that sounds shocking, but it is exactly what many global organizations are discussing. They call it nature's economy. They say tokenization will help protect nature by assigning financial value to it. But the deeper reality is that it gives institutions control over natural resources in ways the public cannot easily understand or challenge. When these natural assets move on to blockchain networks, only a few chosen systems will manage and record their ownership. This is why networks like Ethereum and XRP are constantly mentioned by institutional analysts. Ethereum offers the programmability to manage complex asset structures. XRP offers the speed and efficiency to move value across borders instantly. Together, they can support the trillion-dollar ecosystem that tokenization will create. The younger generation prefers digital systems, crypto wallets, and decentralized finance. Institutions know this. They see that young investors connect more with blockchain than traditional markets. With more than $80 trillion expected to transfer to younger generations in the coming decades, institutions cannot afford to be left behind. That is why companies like BlackRock are rushing into the crypto space. They understand that once people get comfortable with blockchain-based assets, they will not go back. They will demand everything, stocks, bonds, real estate, commodities, to exist in the same digital ecosystem they already use every day. Once the financial world moves fully to the system, the blockchains powering it become the foundation of global value itself. And if you are not holding the assets used to transport, secure, and settle this value, then you are standing outside the new economy. The window is closing quickly, and those who understand the shift early will benefit the most. Continuing with the discussion, one of the most important things to understand is that tokenization is not just about efficiency or faster transactions. The real goal is control. When Larry Fink and other leaders discuss a universal ledger, they are talking about a system where every financial decision, every asset, and eventually even natural resources are tracked, monitored, and potentially controlled through digital networks. This is why the connections to institutions like the BIS, IMF, and the World Economic Forum are so important. They are not just observing blockchain technology. They are actively building a framework where this technology becomes the backbone of a new financial order. It is no longer enough to just own a bank account, bonds, or gold. In a tokenized world, ownership is defined by digital representation on a blockchain, and that representation must be recognized by the systems controlling the ledger. Ethereum and XRP are among the main platforms that experts suggest could power this system. Ethereum provides the programmability needed for complex contracts, regulations, and automated governance. XRP provides liquidity, instant settlement, and cross-border efficiency that traditional financial rails cannot match. When combined, they could form a highly efficient and controlled infrastructure for global finance. Whitney Webb also highlights the danger of tokenizing the natural world. Think about this. If forests, rivers, oceans, or even national parks are turned into tradable digital tokens, what we consider public resources will now exist as financial instruments. This means that institutions could essentially sell shares in these natural assets, borrow against them, or speculate on their value, all while most people have no real control. The argument used by elites is that tokenization can protect resources, improve efficiency, and create financial innovation. But the real effect is concentration of power. Those who control the ledger and the networks hold ultimate control over value, access, and risk. For ordinary people, that means reduced sovereignty over assets that were previously free or collectively owned. Another crucial point is the way tokenization ties into generational wealth transfer. Over the next few decades, more than $80 trillion is expected to move from older generations to younger generations. Younger people are already comfortable with crypto wallets, blockchain applications, and digital finance. Institutions know this. By bringing traditional assets like stocks, bonds, ETFs, and real estate onto blockchain networks, they aim to keep this wealth within their own digital ecosystems. This strategy ensures that people accustomed to digital finance will continue using platforms controlled by large institutions, giving these entities long-term dominance. We are witnessing a slow but steady merging of crypto and traditional finance. Companies like BlackRock are building tools to integrate tokenized ETFs, bonds, and funds with blockchain networks, connecting them to digital wallets and smart contracts. This is the foundation of the global interconnected ledger that Fink often mentions. The system will allow assets to be transferred instantly, tracked in real time, and managed with automation that traditional banking could never achieve. The challenge for individuals is understanding which blockchains will matter the most and positioning themselves accordingly. Ethereum and XRP appear to be key players, with Ethereum handling complex programmable assets and XRP handling liquidity and settlement. Both are increasingly being tested in regulated institutional programs. The takeaway is clear. Tokenization is not just a theoretical idea. It is happening, it is growing. It is being supported by some of the most powerful financial institutions in the world. Those who pay attention now understand which assets form the backbone of this new system and position themselves strategically will have a significant advantage when this interconnected, tokenized world fully emerges. The question is not whether this future will come, but how prepared we are to operate and survive within it. It becomes increasingly clear that the pace of change is faster than most people realize. When Larry Fink talks about tokenizing everything, he is not speaking hypothetically. He and his team at BlackRock, in partnership with other global institutions, are actively designing systems that will make this future possible. The goal is to create a universal ledger that can handle trillions of dollars in value across multiple asset types instantly and securely. For traditional finance, this is revolutionary. Transactions that once took days to settle can now occur in seconds. For global markets, this means reduced friction, lower costs, and transparency that regulators have never had before. But there is another side to this story. While speed and efficiency are benefits, the real power lies in control. A universal blockchain-based ledger can track every transaction, every token, and every asset. Those who control this ledger can effectively control how wealth flows through the system. This is why platforms like Ethereum and XRP are being closely watched by institutional investors. Ethereum offers programmability for complex tokenized assets, from bonds to securities to smart contracts. XRP offers fast settlement and liquidity solutions, especially for cross-border transfers. Combined, they can support a financial infrastructure that traditional banks could never build on their own. Beyond traditional financial assets, tokenization also extends to natural resources. The concept of nature's economy, as described by Whitney Webb and other analysts, is particularly striking. The idea is to take forests, rivers, lakes, or even national parks and represent them as digital tokens on a blockchain. Each token represents a fraction of the resource, making it tradable, investable, and speculatable. While this may sound extreme, discussions about tokenizing environmental resources have already taken place in global forums. Proponents argue that assigning financial value to natural assets incentivizes their protection. Critics argue it concentrates control in the hands of institutions, leaving the public with minimal power over resources that were previously considered common goods. Another key aspect is generational wealth transfer. Over the next few decades, trillions of dollars will move from older generations to younger generations. Younger people are digital natives. They are comfortable with crypto wallets, decentralized finance, and blockchain technology. Institutions know that if they can integrate traditional assets into blockchain systems, they can keep wealth circulating within their own controlled ecosystems. This is why BlackRock and similar companies are moving aggressively into crypto and blockchain. They see the next wave of global finance as digital first, and their goal is to ensure that they are the central players. Additionally, tokenization allows for new forms of debt creation, collateral management, and financial instruments. If natural resources or other real-world assets are tokenized, banks can use these tokens as collateral, issuing more credit and expanding the financial system. This could magnify existing risks, but it also creates immense opportunity for those who understand the system. It is also important to note that tokenization is being built incrementally. It will start with financial instruments like ETFs, bonds, and equities, then gradually include real-world assets such as commodities, energy credits, and environmental resources. Early movers in these networks holding key assets like XRP or Ethereum will benefit from the foundational role these blockchains will play. By paying attention to which assets, networks, and institutions are involved, investors can position themselves strategically. Understanding the architecture of the tokenized world is not speculation, it is preparation. Ignoring this shift could mean being left out of the next generation of financial infrastructure, while those who act wisely now will have a significant advantage. The time to understand these systems is today, because the future is already being built, and it will run on blockchain networks like Ethereum and XRP. It's crucial to understand the bigger picture. Tokenization is not just a technology trend, it is a fundamental shift in how value is represented, transferred, and controlled worldwide. Larry Fink, BlackRock, and other institutional leaders are creating systems where almost everything, financial assets, natural resources, and even environmental commodities, can exist on a digital ledger. This means that ownership will no longer be just physical or legal in the traditional sense. It will be digital, programmable, and trackable in real-time platforms like Ethereum and XRP are at the center of this transformation. Ethereum is ideal for tokenizing complex assets and running smart contracts, while XRP is designed to settle value instantly across borders and provide liquidity. Both networks could be combined into a global infrastructure that replaces outdated financial rails. One of the most significant points is that tokenization extends beyond typical assets like stocks, bonds, or gold. The plan includes natural resources such as forests, rivers, lakes, and even national parks. Imagine each hectare of the Amazon rainforest represented as a token monitored by drones and tradable in global financial markets. While proponents argue this creates accountability and protection, the reality is that control is concentrated in the hands of the institutions managing the ledger. Ordinary people might only have fractional digital tokens, losing true control over resources that were once public. The generational shift in wealth also plays a major role. Trillions of dollars are expected to move from older to younger generations over the next few decades. Younger people are comfortable with digital wallets, crypto, and blockchain technology. Institutions see this as an opportunity to keep wealth circulating in controlled digital ecosystems. By bringing traditional assets onto blockchain platforms, they ensure that younger investors remain within their infrastructure, giving them long-term dominance over global finance. This also ties into the creation of new debt and collateral mechanisms. Tokenized assets, including natural resources, can be used as collateral to issue loans, expand markets, and create financial products that were previously impossible. While this can lead to innovation and efficiency, it also magnifies systemic risk and gives even more power to the institutions controlling these ledgers. Another important point is speed and transparency. Blockchain technology allows instant settlement, real-time tracking, and automated compliance, reducing friction and costs while providing unprecedented oversight for institutions. This level of control is what traditional financial systems cannot offer. For investors, the lesson is clear. Understanding which networks will power this tokenized world is critical. Ethereum and XRP appear to be the most likely candidates, with Ethereum handling programmable assets and XRP managing settlement and liquidity. Being early, informed, and strategically positioned in these networks may provide significant advantages as tokenization expands. Finally, we must understand that this is just the beginning. Tokenization will likely start with financial assets and gradually extend to real-world assets and natural resources. Within the next few years, the frameworks being built today will shape how trillions of dollars of value move globally. Ignoring these developments is risky because the digital economy of tomorrow will be built on blockchains that are emerging now. The universal ledger, the tokenized nature of assets, and the integrated digital financial ecosystem are not speculative. They are actively being developed by some of the most powerful institutions in the world. For anyone watching, understanding these trends, preparing for them, and positioning assets accordingly is not just an advantage. It may soon be a necessity. As we conclude, remember this: the future of global finance is being written on blockchains like Ethereum and XRP, and those who understand the system today will shape and benefit from it tomorrow. Being informed is the first step toward navigating this rapidly approaching tokenized world.